Ladies and gentlemen, that was the voice of Vincent Kennedy McMahon.
Yes.
The Iron Man.
Yes.
The man who will never die. The man who will never retire.
A former WWE and ECW world champion.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, I got Ulysses back, you know.
Yep.
Go check out the Fans Heckling podcast that we did.
Yeah.
It's in the archive somewhere. Ladies and gentlemen, the reason for this podcast is because we want to talk about Vince McMahon being quote-unquote out of touch.
Mm-hmm.
This is a conversation as old as time.
It really is old as time.
I mean, like, if you go watch The Table for Three with JBL, Bruce Pritchard, and Eric Bischoff. Bruce Pritchard said that people were saying Vince McMahon's been out of touch since the 80s. Like, I mean, like, you're a big New Japan guy.
I am.
I know you don't really watch the WWE product.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, give me your take on why you think Vince McMahon is out of touch.
Vince McMahon is out of touch. Was out of touch in a lot of ways. Back in the mid-90s, you had people like the Mantar, and you had
Max Moon.
Yeah, Max Moon, the Red Rooster. I just feel like Vince McMahon, as much good as he did for this business, he did a lot of negativity. It was during the 80s that he told, like, NBC and, like, all these sports outlets, oh, that wrestling is fake. Because before that, I could imagine that people did not know it was like predetermined. They actually thought it was a real sport, like in the territory days in the 70s.
Suspicions.
They had their suspicions, but it wasn't confirmed until he confirmed it. I give credit where credit is due. Vince McMahon is a genius for creating such iconic characters as The Undertaker, as Hulk Hogan, The Rock, Steve Austin, which was basically an extension of themselves, but dialed up to 11. And now Vince McMahon is probably the greatest promoter.
Ever.
The greatest promoter ever. I love Ghetto in New Japan, what he does. I love all the wrestling promotion, but Vince McMahon is the pinnacle of what you want to be in the wrestling business. And I respect Vince a lot, but I feel like at sometimes he's out of touch. He still believes that a babyface should look like Roman Reigns or John Cena. These 6'2", 6'3", very good-looking guys with a physique, you know, because in his words, it turns heads in airports.
Look at him. Look at the size of that guy. Oh my God, he's massive. Damn it, he's big.
Yeah, and exactly like that. And that's one of the reasons a lot of people don't know is that Great Khali was actually world champion back in 2007 because he was a 7'3" monster. And that's one of the reasons because when you see him, you say, "Oh man, that guy's something special."
You know what I say when I look at Great Khali?
Yeah.
Boo. We all know how I feel about Great Khali.
Yeah.
I mean, but seriously, like, Ulysses, you know, I mean, anybody who knows me talks to me off mic. Like, I'm a Vince guy.
Yes, you are.
I am. Like, I'm a Vince McMahon guy.
Yeah.
Like, I'm such a Vince guy. I'm not even buying New Japan World.
Yes.
My loyalties are to Vince, you know?
Yep.
My money, my subscription to wrestling goes to him. Because, I mean, I look at it like this, man. Vince McMahon is a guy who... Like, even the stuff he did when he was first starting out, they thought he was crazy. He took his father's regional wrestling promotion, and he made it into a global phenomenon. Like, it is a juggernaut now.
Yes. And
it's always at the top of the stock market. It's major. It's massive. It's major.
And a lot of people don't know this, that 500 million people per week watch WWE programming around the world. That's astonishing.
Yeah, like, it's huge, man. And I look at it like this. Like, he went against a lot of his father's beliefs, Vince McMahon Sr. So, like, Sr. didn't believe that the promoter should be on screen.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't need to see the promoter. Vince kind of went up beyond that, obviously, in later years. I mean, but, like, Vince McMahon has really changed the game, guys.
Mm-hmm.
Like, look, people have been saying Vince has been out of touch since the 80s. Like I just mentioned.
Yep.
They thought, all right, WrestleMania 3, that was the peak, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Vince McMahon... What he has done, let's say from when was WrestleMania? 1985.
1985.
So let's look at this 33-year span. All right, he's pioneered closed circuit TV. He has pioneered pay-per-view. Vince McMahon was talking about having a WWF network at the time back in the 80s, not like cable network, like streaming service. That's how far ahead Vince McMahon is. He was talking about there wasn't even internet then.
Yes.
That's how far ahead this man looks at it, guys.
And
I mean,
And and I'm sorry to cut you off, Podfather, but just to show you the dedication this man has, I remember reading a couple years ago that he was CM Punk's texting buddy because both of them could not sleep. So then, what CM Punk did, he was like, "Hey, how you doing, Vince?" He was like, this is when before he left, and he had a good relationship with Vince. He was like, "Hey, how you doing, bro? I just can't sleep." And Vince would text back, "Can't sleep, thinking about what to do next," because Vince is the type of person that cannot. He cannot rest. I know stories about him and Paul Heyman, how Paul said that he used to, quote, work out until he threw up.
No, look, dude, Vince McMahon, this is his routine. Like, he's at the show or whatever, he's on the phone doing business till 3 a.m., goes to the gym, goes back to his room about, 5 a.m., gets up at 8, does cardio in there, goes to the gym, goes back to work. Like, that's what he's been doing for the last, 40-plus years.
Yeah.
Like, this man is a monster. He's insane.
Yeah.
And I look at it like this, like I just said, all the stuff he's pioneered, talking about having a network 30 years before there was internet. And there's other things, like WrestleMania, it wasn't supposed to be a success. Mm-hmm. And that's another thing, his dad did not want other entities of entertainment colliding with professional wrestling.
Yeah.
He brought in Aretha Franklin, Cyndi Lauper, Liberace, and all these other celebrities, so on and so forth, over the years, and he's been successful.
Yep.
Lawrence Taylor main evented a WrestleMania, by God. Snooki's had a match at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Kim Kardashian and Snoop Dogg were at WrestleMania 24. John Legend was at WrestleMania 24.
Yeah.
Mickey Rourke punched Chris Jericho at
I
WrestleMania
remember that.
25. Come on. All these celebrities that have come into the business, they've gotten Vince some success and some notoriety.
And this is
one
thing.
Entertainment.
Yeah, and
fields.
this is one thing I just want to say about Vince. I thank Vince for introducing me to wrestling.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Because it was because of him that I got introduced to the sport, the spectacle that is professional wrestling.
Absolutely.
If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't know about New Japan. If it wasn't him, I wouldn't know about ROH. If it wasn't him, I wouldn't know about PWG. And as a 10-year-old boy watching Chris Benoit versus Edge in a tables match, it blew me away. So for that, if you ever listen to this, I doubt you will, but if you ever listen, I want to say thank you.
No, yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I'm going to give my pleas and thank yous at the end.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, moving on from all that, you look at these characters, Hogan and The Undertaker. People love The Undertaker. Undertaker's the greatest character in the history of this industry. Mm-hmm. That was a Vince McMahon creation.
That was a Vince McMahon
That's
creation.
That's a Vince McMahon creation, right from his mind.
Yeah.
You look at Ted DiBiase, the $1 Million Man. That was something Vince envisioned for himself if he was a wrestler. His dad didn't want him to be a wrestler. Gave it to Ted DiBiase. Mm-hmm. Look at him. $1 Million Man, $1 Million Championship. Great match at the end of the tournament for WrestleMania 4 for the WWF title. He goes on to have a tag team run with IRS.
Yep.
Like, come on. It made sense. Vince he looks through it. Now, there have been some bad times.
Yes, there
have been some. I'm not gonna lie. There have been some bad times.
Yes. Like in the mid-90s, it comes to mind.
Yeah, like everybody, like if you were a wrestler, you had a job. You were a doctor. Shout out Isaac Yankum, my dentist. You were a repo man. You were a garbage man. You were a prisoner. Like, there have been a lot of bad things, But then again, to say Vince McMahon is really out of touch, if Vince McMahon was truly out of touch, Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels, Rey Mysterio, Eddie Guerrero, Chris Benoit, CM Punk, and Daniel Bryan, AJ Styles, none of them would have held his championship. Mm-hmm. All of those guys I just mentioned have walked in and out of WrestleMania in some way, shape, or form as World Heavyweight Champion. Mm-hmm. If Vince McMahon was truly out of touch, none of those guys would have reached that title. Now, I mean, there are stories of Pat Patterson and Bruce Pritchard having to convince Vince to put the title on Shawn because he said that short stack's never going to hold my title. There have been stories of that, but Vince, he does listen. He always listens. All right, come on, guys, it's there. This is proof.
Yeah, and it's always like, I know that the authority said this for years, but it truly is best for business. If a Vince McMahon is convinced enough that putting the title on, let's say, a AJ or a Daniel Bryan or a CM Punk is best for business, you damn right he's gonna listen.
Yeah, but then again, if it's best putting it on a bigger guy like Cena or Roman, that's best for business too, because statistically, bigger guys last longer. Daniel Bryan got the title, was injured. Shawn Michaels, back. All right, Rey Mysterio, he had a multiplication of injuries. Punk was working injured. Like bigger guys do last longer.
Yeah.
and people know he has like an infatuation with large men, like big sweaty men. Like everybody loves Braun Strowman. Vince McMahon personally directs everything that Braun does. He will step out of a meeting, he will get off the phone to direct a Braun Strowman segment. That's how invested this guy is, man.
Yeah.
Like, hands on.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think you have any more points.
No, I really don't. Vince McMahon has truly done it all. There will never be a promoter like him,
Yes.
and I appreciate what Hunter's doing in NXT.
Hunter's on the come up, man.
Yeah, he's on the come up, but I don't think even Hunter will touch
I think with Hunter, like Hunter looks at it from the ring to the office. Maybe Vince looks at it from the office to the ring, which but like Vince, he has a lot of tricks left up his sleeve. I mean, we thought Roman was going to win the title this past Mania. It didn't happen.
It didn't happen.
Thought he was going to win with the Greatest Royal Rumble. It didn't happen. Like Vince, he has a lot of tricks left in the trade.
Okay, let me just ask you this before we wrap up. What's one thing you would say? You said you want to say your thank yous. What's one thing you would say to Vince if he was right in front of you?
Thank you, sir. Like you're the reason why I love this sport, why I love the product. You're the greatest playwright in the history of storytelling. Like Shakespeare, who? Like, come on. When professional wrestling is done right, when everything makes sense, when the story is perfect, when the matches are great, it is absolute Shakespeare. Allah, Hogan and Savage, probably the greatest story ever told. Mm-hmm. I say that so many times because it's true. Mm-hmm. And then you look at Jericho and Michaels writing that story, and then the Flair retirement, writing that. Oh my God. And Vince being able to shock us with the streak ending.
Oh, yes. That was a huge shock.
And then Vince McMahon buying out his competition when he was getting his ass kicked for 83 weeks in a row.
R.I.P. WCW.
And ECW.
Yeah.
I mean, that's Vince McMahon, like, sitting his locker room down and saying, all right, we need to go out there and we need to kick their ass every single week. We need to show them who the F we are.
Yep.
And look at that. Stone Cold was born out of that. The Rock. Mick Foley got the World Championship 3 times.
Yeah.
Like, come on, man.
Yep.
Come on, guys.
Yep.
Vince has done it all. $1 billion TV deals today. There are people fighting over his secondary show.
Yep.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that is truly amazing. And Vince will continue this on for years and years because I don't see him slowing down.
I don't see it, man. He's a machine.
How old is he? 73?
72, yeah.
72, 73?
He took a headbutt from Kevin Owens last year. Like,
yeah. Vince, especially, I know this is kind of off topic, but if for the folks at home who've never seen a Vince match, those are some of the one of the personal best moments of my life. I'm gonna
wrestle God.
I remember that was one of the wackiest, but one of the interesting but greatest things. It was Vince and Shane McMahon versus Shawn Michaels and God at Backlash 2006.
I'm gonna wrestle God.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna win, because I am God.
But Vince, like to go on to the Podfather's sentiment. Vince is an absolute genius.
He is, man.
If he drove his competition where WCW were this close to putting him out of business, he bounced back, and with Austin and The Rock and the whole Attitude Era with DX, he knocked him out of the park.
It's true. It's so very true. Vince did it, man.
Yeah, and that's one of the things. Like, if some promoter is trying to raise their company, be wary of Vince.
And then plus again the whole Austin McMahon, like, people tuned in and loved it because don't you dream of just kicking your boss's ass?
Yeah.
Don't you just dream of that?
And people could live it through Austin.
Exactly.
And Vince McMahon. And I always say this, Vince McMahon is probably the greatest heel of all time. The greatest heel of all time.
I mean, let's not forget he was the higher power.
Yeah.
It was me, Austin.
And then you had the call of JR, oh, son of a... and, it was so perfect,
Yes. I mean, Vince, you've changed the game. I can't wait to see what you do next, man.
Yeah.
And then he's put a lot of top guys, a lot of our favorites in top spots. All right, come on. I mean, he made Kevin Owens Universal Champion.
Yes, and I do have a little bit of issue when he lost it, but he did make Kevin Owens champion. He made Daniel Bryan champion. He made CM Punk champion.
Jericho.
He made Jericho champion.
Benoit.
Guerrero. He made Michaels champion.
Vince was the only one that believed in Edge with that Money in the Bank.
Yeah.
People were like, he's not ready. He's not ready. Vince was like, he's ready. And then come on, man. Vince sees through all all the critics and all the greenness and all the ruggedness. He sees through all that, and he sees a bigger picture.
Yep. Yep.
All right, so like, thank you, Vince McMahon. You're a billionaire. You have more money than all of us.
And just on a side note, the Podfather would love to work for you. I know
Oh, my
that for a
goodness.
fact. If you're listening to this, Vince, he would
I will
love
get
to
your
work
steak
for you.
wraps. I will get your protein shakes. I will stay up with you until 4 a.m.
Yeah.
discussing where should we move next.
Yeah.
I will do all that.
Yeah.
I will.
Yep.
I won't sleep for 48 hours.
He'll work out with you too. He said.
How about all that? I don't want to be embarrassed. You'll be like deadlifting 500 pounds. God damn it, kid! Can't you keep up? All right. Thank you, Vincent Kennedy McMahon.
Thank you, Vince.
Ulysses, another great pod.
Thank you, Podfather.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. In the words of Vincent Kennedy McMahon,
This has been the Bulletcast. Thank you for listening.